everything to cheer him on, and he's just going to step up to the plate and hit a homer here tonight. I don't know where he's getting this energy. These guys have been going on. Let's see it. Tony Hawk, get the movie vibe going. Get him going. Pushing it up. Everybody picture it. Here we go. Feel it.
If you go to Google and simply type in 900, the first results you get are about Tony Hawk landing that trick in the 1999 X Games. Isn't it interesting how just a number has been so closely tied to skateboarding that Google will put it before any other possible search results that could have the number 900 in it? The 900 is a 2.5 rotation aerial skateboard trick, and it's insanely difficult. You have to have enough air time and speed to pull off the spin, but even if you are lucky enough to do that, you still have to land on the ramp riding backwards. To this day, it is still considered one of the hardest skateboarding tricks. Chances are though, if you're watching this video, you already know what the 900 is. I'm not here to teach you about the physics behind the trick. Go bug Hank Green about that one. I'm here to tell you why I think that Tony Hawk landing the 900 is more important to skateboarding than most people may realize. Let's go back to the 90s, when the Game Boy was hot and Will Smith's outfits were even hotter. In the early 90s, skateboarding was a dying activity. Most skateboard brands started going bankrupt, which made it harder and harder to pull in new skaters. Tony Hawk himself had said that in the early 90s, his monthly income had started to drop to the point where it felt like the sky was starting to fall. Things were pretty rough for skateboarding during this time, which led to the closures of a lot of skate parks. However, the decline of availability in skate parks during this time allowed for a new type of skating to form. This, of course, was street skating. This new form of street skating, which is exactly what it sounds like, brought a whole new interest to non-skaters. Around 1995, skateboarding began to receive a new breath of life. People suddenly were interested in skateboarding again, which led to some producers over at ESPN to include skateboarding in their new sport competition, the Extreme Games, which started in 1995. Of course, it was later shortened to the way better, less cheesy sounding X Games. The X Games hosted competitions for a wide variety of extreme sports, including BMX, motocross, surfing, and even rock climbing. And like I said earlier, among these extreme sports was skateboarding. The X Games was an instant success. In fact, it was so successful that ESPN decided to make the event a yearly occurrence instead of the original plan of doing every other year. Due to the success of the X Games and the creation of street skating, skateboarding was starting to rise from the dead, but I would argue it wasn't quite off life support yet. Luckily, looming in the distance was a third factor slowly entering that could revive skateboarding and make it stronger than it ever was before, and that factor was video games. Now, video game companies started to see the rise of skateboarding and extreme sports in general, so several video game companies were trying to create their own skateboarding video game. I'm not going to go into full detail the history of skateboarding video games, but the one thing to keep in mind is that these video game companies were on the hunt for a way into the skateboarding world. If only a video game company could be lucky enough to find an extremely talented skater who was unknowingly about to change the skateboard world. Today, Tony Hawk is a household name. Most non-skaters can't mention skateboarding without also mentioning Tony Hawk in the same sentence. Again, Tony Hawk in the early 1990s was struggling to pay the bills, but despite the loss of income, he decided to start his own skateboard company, Birdhouse Skateboards, in 1992. Tony Hawk was already a popular figure in the skateboarding community by winning contest after contest. However, he definitely wasn't the big-name skater star we all know today. In 1998, Tony Hawk was approached by a video game publisher named Activision. They showed Tony Hawk a demo of the new skateboarding game they were working on, and Tony Hawk was not only impressed by the team's devotion to the game, but also to how the skateboarding controls felt so natural. to the point where he felt anyone could pick up a controller and play the game. Tony Hawk agreed to not only be in the skateboarding video game, but to have his name be part of the game's title. In January of 1999, Activision announced their partnership with Tony Hawk. The game headed to final development and was set for a September 1999 release. Now all there was to do was sit and wait, and hope, in the meantime, that someone could help catapult skateboarding into the mainstream. It was June 27, 1999 in San Francisco, California, and the Best Trick competition was going hot at the X Games. The Best Trick competition worked like this. Each skater got 20 minutes to try to do the best trick they could on vert. It didn't matter how many other tricks you messed up during that 20-minute run, you only needed one good trick. At the time, Tony Hawk's best trick was a Varial 720, which he had landed early in his 20-minute run. So now what? He had more time to practice a new trick that he had been working on for the last decade, and that was the 900. Tony Hawk started trying to land the 900, and he has said since that the first few attempts felt closer than they ever had before. The crowd was getting hyped seeing how close Tony Hawk was getting to landing this unlandable trick. When his 20 minutes on his run were up, Tony Hawk just kept skating. All the other skaters on the half pipe forgot that the contest was even going on anymore. They were only focused on one thing: watching history be made. In fact, even Tony Hawk didn't care about the contest anymore at this point. He would rather land the 900 than take the gold medal. Finally, after dozens of attempts, Tony Hawk took a deep breath, dropped in, flung his body into the terrifying spin, and created history. Tony Hawk had landed the first 900. So now what? Well, Tony Hawk landing the 900 3 months before his new video game came out was the perfect storm. News outlets were reporting about this skater's insane trick, giving Tony Hawk free publicity. Non-skaters were starting to recognize Tony Hawk without knowing anything else about skateboarding. The landing of the 900 made non-skaters become slightly more interested in skateboarding. Non-skaters were going up to Tony Hawk and calling him the 900 guy. Skateboarding was being talked about just like any other sport. Then, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater hit the shelves. Everyone had recently just heard of this Tony Hawk guy landing this insane trick, and then a couple months later, saw the same skater on the cover of a new video game. That's when kids and teens of the early 2000s lost their minds. Everyone was buying Tony Hawk's Pro Skater and then would tell their friends about it, and they would go and buy it, and so on and so on. What sets Tony Hawk Pro Skater apart from most video games is that there is an element of realness to it. You can go and buy the newest Mario video game, but there's no way you're going to be able to go outside and try to save a princess from a goth turtle. With Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, you can go out and buy a skateboard and try to land tricks you played in your video game. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater created a generation of kids wanting to learn how to skateboard. When I was growing up, every single kid on my street had a skateboard, and the reason they had a skateboard was always tied back to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. The game was the final factor that pulled skateboarding off its life support and gave it a brand new second life, allowing skateboarding to finally be pushed enough into the mainstream to last for years to come. It's come so far that even the Olympics have officially recognized its importance and are including it for the first time in the Tokyo 2021 Olympics. The game may have boosted skateboarding's popularity, but the 900 boosted Tony Hawk's popularity, which partly led to the success of the video game. If Tony Hawk hadn't landed the 900 on that hot summer night in June of 1999, I'm sure the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater game could have still been a huge success, but I do not know if it would have had the cultural impact that we see today. The 900 is difficult, technical, and one of the most known skateboarding tricks, but for the sake of skateboarding's longevity, it could be the most important.